You know, I was going to leave my 2 cents out of this because I'm not watching Invincible yet. I did start the first episode, but I don't like waiting weeks to watch shows. I am one of those people who actually prefer the binge watch. Even if it's not all the episodes at once, it'll be enough of the episodes that I can sit there and be like, okay, I'm going to watch this, going forward. If I want to watch 5 episodes out of 10, I can, or 8, or whatever. So now that the Snodgrass, I can't remember her first name, but she's apparently the animator or one of the animators on Invincible. She worked on High Spice or whatever, that Spice Garden thing that bombed. She started sitting there going, oh, Invincible fans are sexist, which already calling people names, you should be done. You shouldn't be working on the show anymore, because you're literally just, first off, saying the fans are sexist because she's upset. And like I said, first I wasn't really going to say much about it. I view Invincible, the show, just so you know, kind of as an alternate universe thing. So that's why, like, Amber being black, because in this day and age you wanted to make Amber black. I get it. And the other thing of they gender swap Tech Jacket. Now, Tech Jacket has a niche fan base. I know who Tech Jacket is. I got Robert Kirkman Guardian of the Globe. I have a couple issues of Tech Jacket. Tech Jacket's a very cool kind of, it's almost like a Blue Beetle, really a lot like Blue Beetle in some aspects, the new Blue Beetle Jaime, and like a little bit of the Green Lantern feel kind of mixed up, right? But it definitely reminds me in a positive way of Blue Beetle. And she's like, well, the fans are saying that it must be a love interest for Oliver or a mother. And she's like, women are autonomous and they don't need to serve a man. And, this is going to be a shocker to you Invincible fans. Then why change the gender, dummy? Why change the gender? Then that means you just said there is no point in changing that character's gender. Now, my thought was that the character was, with Shrinking Ray. Now, Shrinking Ray, they hold up for a second so I can get through here. All right. So Shrinking Ray, to me, they gave a lot more storyline to that character, because Shrinking Ray in the comics is a guy. And with that, they did a lot of story there. I like the way they handled Shrinking Ray. I think it was better. Also, it was utilized to do something with Rex to make Rex kind of grow even more than he already was. And by touching on Rexplode and her relationship, it kind of made it that much more impactful, because the fact that Shrinking Ray and him were just finally starting to get to that place, and then he's gone, So that to me is very strong, and that's a good change for the character. That makes sense why they did that change, because now it gave this character more growth and more things versus the comic where Shrinking Ray was kind of a background character. Now you turn around and you do the exact same thing to for a Tech Jacket. And it's like, well, maybe he just wanted to be a woman. Now, I assumed that because the group that from the comics that was originally going to fight the Virtual Light War were basically just a dude fest, that they were like, all right, we want to maybe change this up a little bit. All right, well, we did a little with Tech Jacket. Let's have Tech Jacket be a female. And then, even though I didn't watch yet, and so it was no spoilerish, but I did see it look like Oliver and Tech Jacket kind of had like a little moment from what I've seen in some of the clips. Now, also a spoiler, just go la 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 if you don't want to hear it. They do show Oliver in the future, and in the future, Oliver does actually marry a bug. And, some people are like, well, why would Oliver marry a bug? Oliver's a bug. He's a half bug. He's a Virtual bug. He's still a bug. So I didn't mind it. Some people didn't like it. I was like, oh, that actually makes sense. That's kind of cool that he's like married to somebody, not his same species, because his is they're kind of like praying mantises, but I think the bug that he got with was like a crustacean or like a roach. But anywho, they might be changing that a little bit. Maybe they're going to do some things with the story. They already know, I know in this season, they already are doing an arc that was never done in the comics. So this tells me it's an alternate universe. But to sit there and say that the fans are sexist, because they're trying to rationalize what's the purpose of the change. Now, when they did the change for Amber, that definitely obviously was to add diversity. I'm not saying it was a bad thing or something. They were like, all right, you know what? Robert Kirk was like, if I wrote it now, I would change this a little bit. So he did that. That makes sense. Shrinking Ray had much more storyline, had a thin connection with Rex. It helped Rex's character grow, gave Shrinking Ray something there, and it made it even more impactful and more tragic when the situation happened. That makes sense. What's the point of changing the gender, like outside of you wanted to add a female into the group that was mostly male to fight the Birchmite War? Okay, well, there's a female around the same age, probably be interested in Oliver. That makes sense. They're kids, they're teenagers, hormones. But no, according to Snodgrass, no, you're just a sexist pig because a woman is autonomous and a woman doesn't need to be a man, a mother, a daughter. She said all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but you made a male character a female, which means there needs to be a purpose for it. Gender swap and race swaps are lazy most of the time and unnecessary 99.9% of the time. Now, some people may look at me and go, well, no. Like, for example, when they did Wonder Man, I don't like the fact that they changed his race. It was completely stupid and pointless. Now, you might be sitting there going, well, you're a black guy. Why do you have a problem with that? Why not use Blue Marvel? Black character, very powerful right there. You want to introduce a powerful character, you could have put some story in there, had a lot of racial issues from the 60s and stuff. There's actually a lot of good story you could have told there. Maybe you could have used that. See? That's why I call it lazy. When there's an existing story or universe between DC and Marvel and you have every single character you would ever want. You want a black character, you got a black character. You want a white character, you got a white character. You want a gay character, there's gay characters. There's LGBTQ, there's trans characters, there's non-binary. They're there. You just need to look and utilize them. And sometimes you can actually add more to their storyline because they're underutilized. But instead, you take a mainstay character, you change their gender, you change their orientation, you change their stuff, and then you're like, why is everybody offended? And it's like, because if there's a group of people who love that character and want to see that character do this. And this also swings the other way too. Like, when they were doing, the Hellboy remake, I was not a fan of the one bull from Deadpool being in there, because being the Jaguar, because even though he's a good actor and everything, and I give him props because he stepped away, he stepped out of it, that character is not white. I don't want to see a black James Bond. James Bond is not black. He's white. Go do something else. So that's what actually triggered me for this one, when she turned around and just said, oh yeah, and she started going, women aren't this and women aren't that. And I'm like, but the character's not originally a woman. The complaint's legitimate. Now, are there weirdos, creeps and stuff out there? Of course, but the complaint's legitimate. What's the purpose of changing the character outside of you want to create a love interest, maybe some more diversity in the characters and there, but usually there's a hint that it's going to be a love interest of some sort. But sitting there saying that the fan base is sexist because you didn't, because you're upset because of the fact that the fans are not happy with it unless it makes a storyline reason. Because she was saying, well, the character is there to serve the story and to serve the story. You're absolutely right. What's the point, though, of changing a fundamental thing about the character? I would have questioned it if you made the tech jacket black. I'm like, why? What's the point? See, whenever you do these kind of changes, that's the problem I think people miss. Are there people who are asses, whatever? Fine, whatever. But for a lot of the fans, it's not because they're all this ist or they're all this phobe or all this stupid crap. It's because people want the thing that they were consuming to translate into that other medium. They want to see that character go from one thing to another. I don't want to see a white Black Panther. And the funny thing is, some people are like, no, you can't make one. Yeah, you can. A lot of the people in Africa that have power are Caucasian. Go to South Africa. Look at all that happened. They only recently had that being less of that situation. So all I'm saying is, stop playing the victim. Realize most of the people complaining has nothing to do with the fact of it's sexist. They're trying to rationalize the change, which if it ends up being that Oliver and her get together, or they have a weird, kind of interaction or relationship or something, or she's connected on there, then that would at least tell them like, oh, I get it. Or if it even was just, hey, I did this. But the sheer fact that you're calling the fan base sexist just because the fact that they have a complaint about something that the character was a guy, and they can't wrap around a change, and then when they did, and they rationalized and said, oh, maybe they're trying to make a love interest. And some people probably had the same idea. I think now I checked it out, I think some people probably do, of, hey, you know what, they wanted to add like a female or something in there, kind of break up the Virtual War a little bit, to kind of make it not an all guy team kind of thing, which makes total sense. But to say that, you're being disingenuous, and it's kind of corny. And I think you're specifically purposefully doing it to play victimhood. And you can try to say what you want, Miss Snodgrass. Well, I'm a woman, I can do this. Well, I'm a black man in America, and I'm telling you, you're being disingenuous and off. Both persecuted. Ooh, try me. Anyway, outside of that, my thought is they're probably doing it for a love interest for Oliver, even if it's not a long-lasting one, and also too probably for the Virtual War to have a little bit of diversity on not having an all-male thing, which is totally fine by me as long as it makes sense for the story. But geek protagonists, you stay safe, you stay healthy, stay real. Tell me what you think. Hey, tell me what you think about race swaps and gender swaps and orientation swaps, and are these good things? Do you think they're bad, good, however you feel? I personally feel like the only time it ever should be done is if there's a truly necessary reason for it, or you need to make an adjustment. You feel as though in this particular storytelling it's that, not just because you want some, back pats and, thumbs up on Twitter or whatever they call it now. All right. See ya.